Hey folks, this is Total Trekkie, aka Kenton Barks here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of, well, possibly two versions of one of my favorite musical productions of one of the classic sci-fi novels by H.G. Wells. That's right, this is War of the Worlds, and this was done as a musical by a very special gentleman known only as Jeff Wayne. Jeff, he was truly, well, he is truly a magnificent master of music. He and his father worked on this album after they purchased the rights to the book. And they began working pretty hard on this musical production. I'm gonna look at the albums individually. So, we're gonna start with the original album. This is what it looked like when it was released in 1978, which was 40 years ago. Holy crap, 40 whole freaking years. That was about the same time Alan Parsons released their third studio album, Pyramid. So, let me just open this up. Here's the disc to the War of the Worlds, the first disc. This is the... Come on, camera, work for me, baby. This is Act 1, the coming of the Martians, and what we've got here is a nice little booklet here. You get this out. Yeah. Jeff Wayne's musical version of the War of the Worlds. A sci-fi classic. Very, very beautiful. Disc 1 is the first act, the Coming of the Martians. That's the first half of the production. And here is the narration. This was done by a gentleman named Richard Burton. If I can get my camera to focus on it. Let me get a bit closer now. Come on, focus. Thank you, camera. Yep. This featured Richard Burton, Julie Covington, David Essex, Justin Hayward, one of my favorite musicians from the Moody Blues, Phil Lynott, who unfortunately passed away after the album was released, Joe Partridge, and Chris Thompson, who later worked with Alan Parsons and Jan Hammer in one of their studio albums like Try Anything Once. Chris sang Turn It Up and Back Against the Wall. He also did The Seeds of Life, which was from the album Beyond the Mind's Eye, a computer-generated musical production. Yeah, Disc 1 is the first act of War of the Worlds, The Eve of the War, Horsel Common and the Heat Ray, The Artilleryman and the Fighting Machine, one of my personal favorite songs, Forever Autumn, and Thunderchild, which concludes the first act. This cuts to the second act, that is The Earth Under the Martians, and we have 6 pieces of music, although there are originally 7. The Red Weed, Part 1, The Spirit of Man, The Red Weed, Part 2, The Artilleryman Returns, Brave New World, Dead London, and the Epilogue. So this is truly a magnificent album. Let me... Ooh. Gotta be careful. yeah, here's the second disc. It's really, really magnificent. Very well designed. That was the first album. Now we're going to get into the new generation. And here it is, folks, in all its glory. Jeff Wayne's musical version of The War of the Worlds, The New Generation. And we get a couple of neat and just like the original, it also has some very beautiful artwork. You've got Horsel Common. There's the alien cylinder in the middle of the common, which Ogilvy examines, and the lid of this cylinder unscrews and opens, then falls off, revealing the first alien creature to ever roam the planet, a Martian. We have another piece of art. This is Panic in the Street. As you can see, there are people running about in every direction trying to flee from the Martians. There's a tripod over here firing its main heat ray at one of the buildings in London. Now we cut to this piece of art, and it is very beautiful. I just can't bring myself to say anything negative about it. What we've got here is one of the Martian fighting machines firing its heat ray at the Thunderchild, one of the Royal Navy battleships, as it's distracting the Martians from attacking the steamer. That's where the journalist's fiancée Carrie is aboard. Now, in the live-on-stage productions, Carrie is played by Jeff's actual daughter, Anna Marie Wayne. Now we come to this very beautiful piece of artwork. This is the red weed, and it's covering up everything. And the journalist, he's struggling through that weed. It's real hard to get to London. And on the way, he meets the Parson Nathaniel, who claims that the Martians were summoned by the Dark Lord Satan. Here's a nice little piece of artwork here. This is where Nathaniel believes he's been chosen to fight the Martians by destroying them with his prayers and burning them with his holy cross. But before he says anything else, the journalist, he's just afraid that he'll reveal their location to the Martians and knocks him out, which causes a lot of noise, prompting the Martian handling machine to have its claws search the entire ruins of the house where the cylinder falls and promptly crushes Nathaniel's wife Beth to death under the rubble. Spirit of Man is actually one of the more tragic pieces in War of the Worlds. Phil Lynott, he was brilliant in that album. I can't say much about Maverick Sabre. I won't try to bash that fellow, but it was kind of a struggle for him. I'll give him that. Joss Stone, she was actually quite magnificent as Beth. The DVD release of the War of the Worlds concert, they had different players. They had Alexis James as the artilleryman, Russell Watson. He did have a couple of minor headaches, but all in all, he pulled through with a good performance. So I'll give him some credit. Now, Tara Blaze as Beth. She's no Julie Covington, but she really captured Beth's character in the musical. In 2010, we got some new players alongside Justin and Chris. Jason Donovan is the artilleryman. We also had Ridian Roberts as Parson Nathaniel, and Another player, can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I will say that Rydian, he was an excellent Parson Nathaniel. He was kind of pleased to be a part of it. Now, we come to this piece of artwork. This is Brave New World. This is the artilleryman's vision of what we'll do later on in the future should more Martians come down to our planet and wreak havoc upon it. So the artilleryman suggests we move underground and start all over from the very beginning in what he believes is a brave new world. But the journalist, he feels somewhat upset by this idea. He does not want to follow the artilleryman's dream. Now, this is a very, very beautiful piece of art. This is Dead London. As you can see here inside the booklet, there are crows and a multitude of birds circling about the hoods of the now derelict Martian fighting machines, handling machine, and the flying machines. They're just pecking and tearing at the red shreds. And the journalist, as he arrives, he hears the Martians all shouting "Oola" as they die. This is obviously a very good piece of artwork. Now we come here. This is the Earth under the Martians. Here we've got the tripods and the flying machines. Very beautiful piece of artwork. And we cut to this, the profiles. This is H.G. Wells, Herbert George Wells. He wrote the book. And that's Jeff Wayne right there. He transformed the book into a musical with his father, Jerry, who sadly passed away in the 1990s. Jeff has dedicated this musical in honor of his memory, as well as Richard Burton's, when he released the game in 1990, when the War of the Worlds video game was released, based on Jeff's vision. This is Liam Neeson. He played Qui-Gon Jinn, and he's the journalist. He was also part of Taken, Battleship, and The Tales of Narnia, where he played Aslan the Lion. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention he was also Ra's al Ghul in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Now that's Gary Barlow. He succeeded Justin Hayward as the sung thoughts of the journalist. And he did The Eve of the War and Forever Autumn and Dead London. And here we have Ricky Wilson, the artilleryman. He's one of the members of Kaiser Chiefs. Next up is Alex Clare, the voice of humanity, and I will say that even though people might find his performance weak, I say he did a fantastic job. Now we cut to Joss Stone. She played Beth, Parson Nathaniel's wife, and she was brilliant. And Maverick Sabre, can't say too much about him, but it was a bit of a struggle. Now, here's Jeff's father, Jerry. He was the voice of the NASA operators in Pasadena and Bermuda. He participated in the musical. He fell ill with prostate cancer and he passed on September the 15th, 1996. But he did live long enough to see Jeff and Geraldine's 4 children, Anna Marie, Gemma, Zeb, and Joan Wayne, whom he truly loved so much. And this is Doreen Wayne. This is Jeff's mother. She passed in 1981 whilst working with Jerry and Jeff on another musical work called Spartacus. And here's the production team. And we also have people behind the lyrics who wrote the lyrics to The War of the Worlds, Gary Osborne and Paul Vigris. They also provided backing vocals for the musical. And here's the creative team. Very, very impressive. I'm glad they kept Jerry's name in the credits. And the new generation was Damien Collier. So, let's see, we have the keyboards played by Jeff, Paul Hart, Thomas Gandy, Gaten Schruer, and Tom Woodstock. We also have synthesizers by Ken Freeman and Jeff Wayne. The guitars were done by Chris Spedding, Laurie Wisefield, and Tom Woodstock. Joe Partridge played the Martians with his guitar and basically did their Martian battle cry, "Oola." We have on the Swanee whistle Herbie Flowers. He also played bass, and I say he pretty much jammed on that bass just as he did in 1978. Laurie Wisefield played the mandolin. And he and Tom played dulcimer. Gordon Marshall played drums. Ray Cooper was on percussion. Roy Jones on the tune percussion. George Fenton, he played tar, santur, and auto harp. We have the strings by the Little Chap Strings, and a solo cello by Emma McCoy. Now the accompanying vocalists are Billy Lawrie, Gary Osborne, Cal Owen, Chris Thompson, Paul Vigris, and Tom Woodstock. And the Martian voices were played by Lewis MacLeod, who did the voice of Sebulba in The Phantom Menace. And Tom Woodstock was the Heat Ray. And a special thank you from Jeff Wayne, who dedicated this to his father, Jerry. And we have a nice little signature by Jeff, which was on the 2nd of September in 2012. So, that's that. So overall, people, what do I think of the War of the Worlds albums? Well, I think they are magnificent. They are the best. I know my dad prefers the original version, and I know it's pretty much my fault. I sing Forever Autumn, but my Aunt Cynthia, she said that I sounded better than Justin Hayward when I sang Forever Autumn. So, props to my Aunt Cynthia. But overall, I give this album 5 stars out of 5. And the New Generation album, a solid 4.5 out of 5. Till then, this is Kenton Barks, and I'll catch you guys later.